Hello again, and welcome to my second comedy routine. It's not exactly stand-up because I'm sitting down this time. I'm going to start with a simple drinking-related joke just to kind of ease us all in. I'm then going to share a free-ranging routine with a few comic asides on religion, atheism, the nature of belief, which will include an encounter with a Jehovah's Witness, before we return to a couple more drinking gags, a conceptual light bulb joke, which is going to tie everything together, and then we're going to end on a note of simple, open-ended optimism. Does that sound good? So, research shows that supposed hangover cures, such as the hair of the dog, that kind of thing, can actually have harmful long-term effects on your body, which is a sobering thought, isn't it? Yeah, I've become more drawn to spirituality and less to drinking as the years have gone by. In Hinduism, they have the sacred Om sound from which endless mantras can come. They also have the agnostic version of that, which is I've gone back and forth a bit over the years. You get that moment when it's like, yes, there is a God. And then the next day, I'm not so sure. So my wife has told me to please stop umming and ahhing. I have faith, but I don't really subscribe to organized religion. I do quite like disorganized religions. When they get the timings off, the sort of service timings all wrong, and the coffee morning they try and do it in an afternoon. But to be fair, a lot of Christian groups are very focused. In the US, it's become big business. There was a Baptist church from a farming community in Texas that started producing its own jam. It's manufacturing it, scaled it up, the jars, beautiful. They have Bible quotes on the labels. So they really are spreading the word, aren't they? So you can learn about atheism in school now. It's actually it's a subject. I feel like it must be a very short lesson. Good morning, class. There is no God. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm not sure about atheism, though. I feel like it's somehow defined by what it's not. But the thing that it isn't is something that no one can really agree on in the first place. Do you know what I mean? So, like, the believer says to the atheist, well, what do you believe in? The atheist replies, well, I don't believe in what you believe in, though as no one actually knows what that is, for sure, that's why you have faith, and I have Ricky Gervais. Of course, atheism is also related to notions of rationalism. So the atheist may say, or the agnostic may say, give me the evidence that God exists. I want proof. But what would that look like? A huge footprint? A voice bellowing at us from the clouds? A functional political system in the UK? I don't know. Perhaps it means give me evidence of some kind of entity, something that I can see, I can hear, I can touch or feel, something that I can measure. However, there are things that exist that we can't perceive with our senses, but we know them to be real. Love, hate, English cuisine. A better punchline for this bit? Okay, you could say that God exists as something that people believe in. Now, this is an interesting distinction. It's also interesting to consider the difference between knowing and believing. At what point does belief become knowledge? It feels like knowing relates to that which has already occurred, and belief relates to what may come in the future. But coming back to believe in, we do also use believe in the sense of trusting in someone's ability to do something. I believe in you. talking to your son or your daughter, you will pass the exam. You will win the match. I believe in you. Perhaps when we say we believe in God, it can be more along those lines. God, dear Lord, I know it looks like your plan for human existence has hit the buffers a bit, but I believe in you, God. I do. I hope he believes me, or we really are in trouble. Anyway, going back to religions, I notice a lot of comedians these days making fun of Christians. Fair game, it seems, perhaps. I don't know. I notice they don't do the same with Muslims. They're probably too scared of the potential backlash, right? I mean, I have a lot of respect for all people of faith, as long as they aren't trying to force others to believe the same as them. Dogma is not something to aspire to, is it? Interesting, though, that dogma is am God backwards, which, as I will get to later, is something I do subscribe to. So, back when we were living in the UK, my wife and I went to an Alpha course. It's a really popular course, if you don't know about it, which is set up with the Holy Trinity Brompton in London. They have it all around the UK and I think other parts of the world. Very well structured course for non-believers or believers to explore Christian faith. And it was fascinating. It was great to spend time on a Tuesday evening after work talking with people about the meaning of life. We're nervous of these kind of conversations in England. We tend to prefer to find, a neutral subject, football, the weather, what someone else has said or done, rather than putting our own skin in the game. I found it's different in other cultures. When I was in Russia, people would sometimes say, Neil, I like you. Let's be friends. I'm okay. Snowing again, eh? Look at that. But the Alpha course was excellent. I remember them saying, if you become a Christian, get ready to be laughed at, to be mocked, and be at peace with that. And the last bit was the one that I really loved. Be at peace with who you are, and then you will be at peace with others too. And you know that in Islam, jihad apparently means killing the ego, breaking down the barriers that we all carry inside ourselves so we connect fully to the divine. It's got nothing to do with other people. Not sure if that message has fully landed, has it? I mean, in India now, there are increasing conflicts between Hindus and Muslims, stirred up, by the usual suspects. Spoiler alert, not God. Many Muslims are getting persecuted. They're in the minority. Temples and mosques are getting destroyed. I don't think this is the plan in any of the ancient scripts, is it? Go forth, my children, he seemed to bellow from the sky, and smash shit up. I believe in the notion that God is the consciousness that gave rise to us all and is the deepest part of ourselves. We have glimpses of this reality when the ego is absent. There's moments of euphoria, of being fully in the now, orgasms, paying off your mortgage. We call it the soul. I mean, I remember a Jehovah's Witness knocking on my door back when I was living in London a few years ago. And I said to her, no, you are God and I am God. You see, am God, dogma, remember? In comedy, that's known as a callback. See, I've done a bit of training. I'm a little bit qualified for this. Anyway, God, I said to her, God is within you and me. She freaked out. She said, no, God is almighty and we must surrender ourselves to him. Or maybe now it could be them, perhaps, not sure what God identifies as. Be careful these days, don't we? But in a sense, we were saying the same thing, I think. Surrender to God. Give in to your better nature. Stop fighting the reality that we are actually all connected at the deepest level. It's just that she seemed to think that we had to find God somewhere else, somewhere. Whereas I believe that he is already here. We just have to let go of the illusion that he isn't. But back to drinking. Now, the first time I had a tequila shot, I have to confess, I hadn't quite fully really understood the process. I put the salt and then the lemon in my mouth, threw the tequila over my shoulder. Guy behind me, I think he got some of it, so swallowed some of it. It was first recorded, one of the few recorded incidents of passive drinking, actually. Okay, guy walks into a bar and says, "Is this some kind of joke?" The barman says, no, it isn't. What can I get you? How many Muslims does it take to change a light bulb? It doesn't really matter. They've already seen the light. How many Christians does it take to change a light bulb? It doesn't really matter, because they've also already seen the light. How many atheists does it take to change a light bulb? They would prefer to remain in the dark until clear evidence has been provided that light exists. Okay, actually, I'm being unfair to atheists because I know they're too reasonable to take offense. I'm also being disingenuous because atheism is often a step towards the broader philosophy of humanism. The notion that we don't need a God to be kind and decent to each other. I fully subscribe to that. In school, that's a much longer lesson. We can all learn something from that. Can we all be believers and humanists at the same time? I believe we can. Thank you, guys.